I just realized 19 in French sounds like a very lewd Chinese word. Hold on, let me find, I need to know now. 19 in French.
19.
I'm gonna ban probe. We're gonna ban probe. You think you can buy me, probe? You think you can buy my favor? Well, you're right. Thank you for 5 gift subs. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to walk you guys through my monthly and weekly journal setup process. It's really up to you how you want to do it. You know, like it's all about creating an analog process for a digital world. My bullet journal is basically a glorified to-do list, but you know, for you it may be more reflective or more of like a habit tracker, or you know, whatever works for you, whatever you want to do, that's good. I would advise thinking a little bit before you get started about what kinds of like grids you want. So I really like dot grid. Some people like lined, some people like grid. But before you commit to like a fat journal like this one, like this is my last journal that I finished, quick flip through. Before you commit to a big journal like that, like start with one of these little guys and just try it out, you know, because bullet journaling might not be for you. Maybe it'll take you some trial and error and you want to like give yourself the leeway to mess up a lot, because a lot of the systems you're gonna try are not gonna work right off the bat. Maybe bullet journaling isn't your thing at all. That's also okay, but I think it's important to just try new things and see how you like it. You guys feeling purple for September? Purple and light blue. All right, Renee, great tastes. People have really fancy layouts. They would use like watercolors and do like full page washes. And I am not an artist, so I was just like, man, like I'm never gonna be able to bullet journal because this looks really intimidating. To which I say, like, you don't even necessarily need like the colored pens like I have. You can just have a simple black pen. You can have a perfectly functional bullet journal. Like your bullet journal does not have to be beautiful. It can be beautiful in its own way. It can be more minimal, you know, like whatever suits your personal style, but don't go around seeing bullet journal Instagrammers and YouTubers doing their fancy watercolor stuff and like washi tape and stuff and be intimidated by that. Like, no, just take a little black pen, take a pen and just try like making lists. Okay, that's all it is. So I'm gonna start with my monthly layout. I'm not a good artist. The other things that I used, I learned this as like an easy trick to make your journal feel beautiful without having to put too much effort in, is these brush pens. So these are like pastel brush pens. On the topic of brush pens, have you ever tried to do brush lettering before? Surprisingly not as difficult as you might expect. I recently took this really short class on Skillshare to try and improve my brush lettering a little bit, because I just kind of dabbled in it to make my bullet journal look a little bit nicer, you know, but I didn't actually know what I was doing. Skillshare is also the sponsor of this video. They are an online learning community for beginners, pros, dabblers, and masters. They have classes to fit any schedule and skill level, covering topics including design, animation, illustration, photography, brush lettering. You get the idea. Let me actually show you guys this practice sheet of brush letter strokes that I was practicing. I don't know what a baba is. I was just trying to connect the A's and the B's together. But like, long story short, from this, you know, less than 30-minute long class, you want your downstrokes to be really thick and bold and your upstrokes to be really like light and airy. Skillshare is curated specifically for learners, so there are no ads on their platform and they're constantly adding new premium classes. It's the perfect place to go and explore your latest random interest or hobby that's sprung up in your mind, which if you're anything like me, that happens like every other day. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description or pinned in the top comment will receive a free 1-month trial of Skillshare, so you can go and explore your creativity today. And I'm sorry to disappoint, but in this video that we're about to launch into, I did not do any fancy brush lettering. I just kind of used these and drew some straight lines. But you know what? Even that already looks pretty freaking cool, so let's go back. In this case, we're gonna take the purple and the light blue to match the two colors that you guys chose earlier. And like literally all you have to do, just like go over it a little bit and it instantly adds dimension. It's just like such an easy hack. Wow, it looks kind of like the trans pride flag. Kind of like that, it's pretty cute. There you go, that's not bad. It's a little bit messy, but it gets the job done. Okay, so I'm gonna count a few spots in. Usually I think 3 columns is good. Let me just make sure. We'll do 4 to be safe. And then I just draw a line straight down. I'll include links referencing like the original creator of the bullet journal and his method videos, because I thought those were actually pretty minimal and very approachable. Because all he kind of goes through is like what a future log is. I don't future log for reference. What a future log is, how the bullet part works, and then monthly spreads. And so this is actually following the very traditional monthly spread format for a bullet journal. Days of the month go down on the left, and then days of the week go on the right. So I like to leave like a line gap between the weeks because it helps me chunk it up a little bit more. So I'm gonna skip a line and then go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another thing, you gotta get comfortable with fucking up. Starting to bullet journal really helped me deal with some of the more like toxic perfectionist aspects of my personality, because now I do little fuck ups like this, and where before I would have been like, I have to tear the fucking page out. Like I have to tear that page out and start over. Now I'm kind of like, I'll just cross it out. Like It's not a big deal. It's okay. Mistakes happen. Happy accidents. Happy accidents. Those are the days of the month on the left. Days of the week go on the right. So this is your like bare bones monthly spread with nothing in it. After this, you go in and you basically write in like important events, appointments, things to remember, like whatever gives you sort of at a glance what your month is gonna look like. Some people use this like for future planning reasons. Some people use it as like a reflective tool. I would say that my bullet journal is more of a reflective tool than it is a planning tool. I started on the wrong day, guys. Today is not the 1st, today is the 4th. So this needs to be moved down here. Hold on. I actually did invest in some really nice whiteout based on a friend's suggestion. I don't know if it's, oh, it looks dusty. Oh, that is really nice. But I use an off-white paper, so it's gonna, oh, okay. This is gonna look a little bit ugly, guys. Happy accidents. Happy accidents, it's okay. Wow, kind of impressed. Damn. All right, so let me backlog a little bit, right? Like on Friday, I had D&D. Hot Mac stands for Hot Topic Mall Kids. On Tuesdays, I do, we call it accountabilities. If you have trouble staying accountable on top of like goals and habits and things like that, like get an accountability buddy. Like get a friend of yours who either shares your problems or like would be interested in being your accountability buddy and form a partnership, you know? Like you guys are gonna meet once a week and you're gonna check in and set goals together. And then once a week, you're gonna report to each other. You know, like, okay, last week I said I was going to mop my floor. And this week we're gonna check in again and I'm gonna be like, yes, I mopped my floor. Or like last week I said I was gonna start running every other day. And this week I'm gonna check in and be like, okay, so I was successful like 3 out of 5 times or something like that. You know, like it's so helpful having an accountability buddy. So I call it accountabilities because our friend group, we called ourselves the Beirritos. Okay, so that's my monthly plan. So now at a glance, I can see everything that's gonna be happening in September. Yay! I'm going to show you guys now something that is not part of the, sorry, I gotta stop. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for the ooh redeem. I'm gonna show you guys now a monthly spread that I do that is actually not a conventional thing that you'll see in bullet journals. And it's something I came up with on my own, though since I've definitely seen people other than me like do similar things, but this is the layout that works for me. So I'm gonna show it to you guys really quick. As you can tell, so this is what I'm about to set up and you guys will see me do it. So it's what I call my monthly to-dos. I usually split it into 4 quadrants. I do cosplay and photography as one category, tasks and errands, for example, like filing my taxes or washing my car or paying my bills. Those would go under tasks and errands. I have YouTube and music projects over here, and then like monthly repeatable things. So actually washing my car and paying the bills might go under monthly instead because those are things I should do every month. Now we come into the weekly spread. And this is the part that is honestly one of the hardest parts to keep up because you do it week over week. Some people like to sit down and do all their weekly spreads at once for the month. I feel like that might be something I should consider investing in. It does get so boring, but maybe if I like put on a podcast, or I guess if I do it on stream and I'm just like chatting with you guys, it might be less boring. But I'm gonna show you guys my layout. I know you guys already kind of got a peek of it earlier. I rainbow the week. So we start with red for Monday. And then the way I do my headers is with like cursive and long lines because I find that the borders help me section off the pages in a way that is very easy to read later on. So in this case, Monday is on the 6th. And then to make this weekly spread look a little bit less, you know, bare bones, just go under the line. And you see how like if you take it under the line, it feels like it's adding dimension rather than, you know, being a random line just sitting there. So I like that a lot. It makes it feel more 3D to me. You guys see how it took like very little design sense and effort to make like a pretty decent looking weekly spread? Like I feel like that's actually quite pretty in a fairly organized way, and I didn't have to like bust out watercolors or washi tape, you know, like it looks good and it's also minimal and it's also color coded and it didn't take that much effort. Minimal investment for maximum output. All right, bullet journaling standard practices. You start with the bullet. This is a bullet, yeah? This is where your like to-do list item is, right? So basically it's like to-dos, tasks, etc. When you complete the thing on the bullet, you just exit out like that. So these are the 2, you know, I'm sure everyone's done this before. Everyone's like made a to-do list and like crossed it out when they're done. Like this is not rocket science, right? So this is not intimidating, I would hope. This is an event or a scheduled event, yeah? And then when you have completed or attended the event, you close the triangle. So the original person who created bullet journals, it was never intended to be anything beyond just like a black pen and a notebook. And so you were supposed to be able to use one color to indicate like a variety of things, right? So for example, let's say I said on Monday that I was gonna do some task, like this was my Monday task. So if I wanted to indicate that this Monday task, I didn't get it done on Monday and I'm gonna push it to the next day, just do that. So this is what the original like index system was. I think most people have customized this to best suit their needs. The way that I do it is, so this is a task. Yeah, I'm still the same. When I complete the task, I exit out. If I don't complete the task, instead of using the like forward caret symbol thing, I find that difficult when I'm looking at a long list to differentiate between that arrow thing and the X. I actually circle it instead, just so I can like highlight to myself that that is what I haven't done, and I won't circle it until I have like written it in on a following day at some point. Like I've committed to doing it at a future point in time, and then I circle it to tell myself like, oh, okay, like I did not complete this task, but I've accounted for it. I usually use a full triangle to indicate that I have a scheduled event coming up. Instead of closing a triangle to indicate attendance, I fill it in just because it's more high contrast to me. Like it's easier for my eyes to scan through a page and see like what I did or didn't do. So these are the only symbols I use basically. This is the system that I've adapted. It's pretty minimal. It only accounts for 2 categories of line items to begin with. And I just find it like minimally intimidating in a good way. So I'm gonna demonstrate to you guys what I just showed you with the bullets. So on Monday, all day, we have PTO for Labor Day. So I'm just gonna write this, PTO for Labor Day. So it's not really an event, but it is kind of like a timed thing, right? Like it's not exactly a to-do item. So I wrote that down as kind of like an event. I also have a stream at 8 p.m. So I'm gonna write that in. All right, so that was my weekly spread setup. As you can tell, all I did was just section off each of the days of the week, Monday through Sunday, and then I wrote down each of the events that are going to be happening in each of those days. So now at a glance, I also have a sense of like, oh, okay, like tomorrow's gonna, like in a few days, it'll be Monday. What should I be mindful of? Oh, I have the day off work, and also I have a stream later in the evening. And so like just keeping those things in mind as you set up your journal, I feel like really helps you mentally prepare for the week that's ahead of you. So I try to set up my bullet journals on the Sundays before the week begins because it gives me a little bit of like preparation time, just mental preparation time. There's one more item in my weekly setup that I consider actually maybe the most important part of why I like bullet journaling to begin with, because without this, it's just a glorified to-do list. But I think with certain modules, one of which I'm about to show you, it becomes a more reflective and maybe even meditative process to be bullet journaling. And it helps you, you know, structure your reflection thoughts. So I'm just gonna show you guys what I mean. This is my reflection spread. It sections into 6 topics, I guess, to focus on, and it's something that I try to fill in every week. And again, as you can tell, when I'm having a bad week, I tend to not fill it in. So the 6 topics are learnings, accomplishments, memorable moments, number 1 goal next week, grateful for, and looking forward to. So, you know, it's a gratitude journal, it's a reflection journal, it's a learning and I don't know, moving forward type thing. And I just really, I don't know, I feel like it gives you a chance to like pause and look back as time is flying by you, and really take stock of where you are right now, mentally, physically, emotionally. Like there's always a lot going on in our lives, and I feel like reflection modules like this help me stay grounded and more mindful. This was something that took me a long time. I used to draw these lines with rulers, and then it started feeling so like clinical to me, you know, like it just felt so inorganic. And I ended up like, I really surprised myself with this one. I ended up deciding that the kind of unstraight handwritten lines just felt more natural and more organic and more comforting than the like razor edge straight lines I was getting off the ruler. I don't know, as someone who has always struggled with like perfectionism and obsessing over the little details and things like this, I was really surprised that I would prefer the unstraight lines over the really straight lines. But that's what I've landed on. That's where I'm at now, so here we are. The bullet journal is teaching me valuable life lessons. And then I just scrawl reflections at the top. Okay. Cool, so that's my weekly reflection spread. I also do monthly reflections, but my monthly reflection format is really minimal. I take like a blank page, usually just like a half page like this. I used to keep weekly habit trackers, so I would put my habit tracker, my habit tracker is like a separate piece of paper, and I'll make one in front of you guys later so you guys can see. So I'll put my monthly habit tracker here, and then I like turn this horizontally and I split it right down the middle. And on the left half, I write down literally every single like thing that I did that month. Like event I attended, dinner I was part of, gaming night I was part of, social events, big things that happened at work, like anything that was sort of somewhat even slightly important, I would put on the left side in like a big list. And what that helps me do is help me feel like, oh, like, okay, time passed, but I used that time doing something, right? Like I was experiencing and living my life and like doing something with that time. And so that left half of like things I did is kind of to combat the existential dread. And on the right side, I write down what I've been thinking about. Like what are things that have been top of mind? What have I been grappling with? What are things I've been struggling with? What are things that have gone well and things that have not gone so well? You know, just sort of like philosophical, maybe emotional, maybe whatever else kind of musings. It's just a stream of consciousness kind of thing that goes on the right side. So those are my monthly reflections. There's basically no format. It's just stuff I did and then stuff I thought. And that's it. But that's kind of it. In terms of like things I set up for my bullet journal, it's really just like a monthly spread, a monthly to-do, week to week, what I do, this is the glorified like to-do list part of it all. And then at the end of the month, after several weeks, obviously, I will put my monthly habit tracker here and then my monthly reflection on this side. So let me actually show you guys how I do the habit tracker now. My habit tracking has changed a lot over the months. I'm gonna show you the latest iteration of it. But I like to use an actual grid paper instead of dot grid for this one. Give myself a little bit of a twirl there. So this is gonna be really similar to the monthly spread that we set up in the bullet journal, but instead it'll be days of the week and days of the week and like date of the month will run along the top like horizontally instead. And you guys will understand why it's horizontal this time pretty soon. So this whole process usually takes me about half an hour to set up every month. It is a little bit of overhead, right? Like that does take quite a bit of commitment. And so I often like am tempted to not do it. And so I often don't. But I do think that it goes pretty quickly if you have like a podcast on or an audiobook or like a Netflix show or something on the side. I really just have to like get off my butt and do it. You know, I think it is worth it in the end, the time investment for it. But again, this isn't for everyone. It may not be for you. And that's also totally okay. Like it does not reflect badly on you if you don't use systems like this to keep track of everything. Like you are no less of a good person because even if you don't have like so-called discipline to like do this kind of habit tracking. I wish that we as a society did not do so much like guilt tripping around what we consider like bad discipline. Because I feel like most of that boils down to a lot of things that are outside of our control, which is not to, you know, excuse ourselves of not being in control, but not everything can always be in control. And I wish we were just more accepting of that fact in general. That's the grid. And then I write the habits in on the rows. So we're gonna write, I like to be up before 8 a.m. And then I do like a morning breathing routine. And the morning breathing routine, part of that is not touching my phone. I wake up, my Fitbit goes off, usually it's like a vibration alarm. I turn it off, and then instead of immediately reaching for my phone, which was my habit for many, many months, and it was just such a bad experience because I would reach for my phone and then I'd be browsing Twitter for the first 30 minutes of my day, which just does not start you on the right foot at all. Instead, I stand up, I go to my windows, I open the curtains, I open the windows, I let the morning air in because I love the morning air, and then I take 3 deep breaths, like 3 square breaths, I guess you could say. So it's like breathe in, count to 4, hold it, count to 4, and then breathe out, count to 4, and then hold that, count to 4. So 3 square breaths with morning air in my face. That works for me because I really like the morning sun and the morning air, and there's something really refreshing about this process. It may not work for you. Again, I'm gonna say this constantly, like things that I demonstrate to you right now may not be good solutions for yourself, but if you have similar problems with like waking up and immediately looking at your phone, like developing similar habits to get yourself out of bed, like incentivize yourself, right? Like have a treat for yourself on the other side of getting out of the bed. Develop a habit like that and then track it just to know how well you're doing and encourage yourself to keep doing it. The reason I keep it separate from my journal is because I find it's easier to just have this out in the open somewhere. I'll usually cut this out and I'll tape it like next to my bed somewhere. And it's really easy for me to just like keep a pen there and then like mark off the boxes where I have done something, as opposed to like digging out my journal, like opening my journal to the correct page where the habit tracker is and then crossing off the box in there. Like it was just kind of becoming like a frictional experience. So by having it on its own sheet, I was kind of reducing the friction to actually keeping track of my habits. And then at the end of the month, as I mentioned earlier, I cut this out, or usually it's already cut out, and then I put it in my journal for reference later. That's it. That is all of my bullet journaling wisdom. I hope it was informative for you guys. I hope it was a learning experience. And if bullet journaling is not for you, if you watched all of this and you were like, yeah, that seems chill, but like not my thing, that's also super cool. Thanks for sticking around and finding out about bullet journaling anyways. See you guys, bye-bye.